Hey guys, it's the Weirdable here, and I'm just playing me some Witcher 3. And goddamn, this game is BEA beautiful. I've been playing it pretty much non-stop this whole week. Um, no other disc has entered my PS4. I've been solely playing this, and for good reason because it's one hella game. Um, I mean, where to start really? Everything I like everything about it. Um, well, let's see. First of all, graphics good to say the least. I mean, there's always this debate about the graphics look so much better on PC and all that. But to be honest, I don't have a PC that would be anywhere near good enough to play this at maximum high quality settings. So I've got a PS4 to play this, and I think it does a fantastic job. I mean, just look at it. Everything from the grass on the ground to the dirt tracks to the clouds. I mean, this game has the best wind system, I think you can call it. Where the trees, you can see there, the trees bend in the wind, and obviously depending on the wind direction, the trees will bend in that direction. And I don't think I've ever seen that in another game. I may be wrong. Comment down below if you've seen any other tree bending action. But yeah, no, the graphics you know, just some of the best I've seen to date. But I think this is probably the level that next gen. Like I would call this probably one of the first proper next gen games that I've played on PlayStation 4. And I think this is the bar that so many other games are going to have to follow, and probably will. I mean, I'm thinking games like the next Metal Gear Solid, maybe even the next Uncharted game coming out. I think they're definitely going to be on level with this game. So yeah, graphics, amazing. um, One of the things that I found though when I first picked up this game was there's quite not a big learning curve, but it's fairly substantial on, well, I found anyway, on the combat side of things. Like, because Geralt is the main character who you play as, and he's quite sort of heavy. Like, it's really hard to explain, but basically when you move him around using the controller, he's the character feels very heavy and sort of cumbersome at times. You'll sort of see, like, when he runs, you sort of stop moving the controller, he'll still sort of move slightly, which at first I was a bit kind of I wasn't too sure about. But you kind of get used to it, and then that actually kind of correlates and actually sort of is part of the combat as well. It's quite a heavy combat system, but in a way I actually really like that because you really feel like he's swinging the sword, and when you parry off attacks, and when you hit someone else's sword and they parry you, you really feel like the clunk of the metal. And I actually really like that now. At first I was a bit sort of like, oh, I'm not sure I can cope with this, but if you sort of stick with it, it delivers some really cool fighting sequences and things like that. I should probably explain what's going on here. Basically, for those of you who haven't played The Witcher or don't own it, basically you can do these little side quests. Having said that, I actually just stumbled upon this castle, so that's another thing I love about this game. You can just ride along and just find things like this. So basically I've followed these tracks, and I think I don't know what's killed these people at the moment, and I just follow these tracks down into this field. You'll see in the video, but basically it leads on to getting a Witcher contract to fight a Wraith, which is pretty cool. The Wraith is one of the many beasties that you can fight in this game. I'll explain a bit more about how to take down a Wraith in a minute, but yeah, no, the going back to the combat, it really makes me feel like this game. I thought when I first sort of saw some videos, I didn't want to watch too much because I didn't want to give too much away, and I wanted to kind of play it, first, like, having not seen any other footage. I just wanted to experience it firsthand on my own. But I did watch a little bit of combat before I picked this up, and I thought it would be similar to the Shadow of Mordor game. which I really enjoyed, and I thought really really underrated game because it had such a good combat system. Very well, it was actually very similar to the Batman games, which I think is really cool. You know, you parry and you can sort of counterattack and things like that. And I thought this game would be very similar, but it's actually a lot harder. The combat is pretty unforgiving at times, like the Mordor games, sorry, should I say. It's people will just attack you, like there's no waiting around. It's not like Assassin's Creed where people will just, you'll have this, pleasant duel with this other person and they'll wait their turn to attack you. No, everyone's just going to pile in and try and, chop your head off. So it's there's quite a big learning curve on how to sort of defend yourself and fight different enemies. So obviously the two different types of two different enemies that you've got are basically humans and sort of monsters, essentially. I mean, they're obviously different types of monsters, and again, they have their own different types of attacks, but essentially humans and monsters are very different in how they attack you. So when you're fighting monsters, you're going to be rolling around a lot more, dodging, things like that. But when you're fighting humans, you're going to be sort of defending a lot more, putting your guard up and sort of powering their attacks. Basically, when they attack you, you can sort of counterattack them, which I really like. 'Cause it adds such a cool element. Like you really have to learn how to take on these different opponents, which adds another element of sort of learning. I mean, I really like, as I said at the beginning, I was kind of wary about. I wasn't sure if I'd be able to sort of learn these kind of learn how to do the combat and stuff like that. But I really like having to learn something that's quite tricky, and then once you get hold of it and you get a hang of it, it's so rewarding. As you see here, basically I followed those footsteps and I decided to check the notice board to see if there would be a Witcher contract on the Wraith, and there is. So basically you go to this notice board, every sort of villagey, well, not even a village, like some little settlement, just main settlements have notice boards with basically, it's not necessarily just Witcher contracts, but there's loads of other contracts. Like you can play, there's this game called Gwent in it. There's actually so much in this game, I can't really go into all of it because that would take a long video. This video is long enough as it is. But basically Gwent is a card game in the game, and there's contracts and you can play that, and there's other things like people go missing, can you help me? There's loads of things you can do. So there's hours and hours of playability in this game. But basically, you just go and find the woman, and she tells you a bit about the backstory. What I really like is the fact that even something like this is quite a small Witcher contract, essentially, because if you've played it, this is why I wanted to show you this sort of contract, because I didn't want to give too much away if you haven't played it, because I think the best thing about this game is not knowing what's going to happen half the time. And I know you probably think that's like most games, but in this game it really, really, I feel like it matters. You don't want to know the story basically at all. You want it to be a complete surprise. So I wanted to show you this one because it's a pretty small one. Basically, to summon the Wraith, you kind of needed something that belonged to the girl before she died, sort of thing. And basically that knife, I don't know if you heard in the story, probably didn't hear because I was wittering away. But basically she had to marry this old blacksmith dude who I think was pretty well off, but she didn't really like that, so she ran away and slit her wrists, which is lovely, but pretty dark. And that's one thing that The Witcher really kind of does really, really well, is it has some really dark storylines, like really dark. When you play it, you'll see what I mean. But that's one of the things I actually quite like about it. This isn't a really nice fairy tale kind of land. It's a really dark, hard place to be and sort of live, and you can't help but feel sort of sorry for most of the inhabitants. Geralt has it pretty good, I think. I think I'd take the monsters over living like a peasant and dealing with all these problems. But yeah, you think we'd have it bad now, but geez, these guys have it real bad. They've got monsters as well to deal with. But that's what makes these sort of Wraith contracts so interesting, because half the time there's a really sad. I mean, not saying that I enjoy sad stories, but it makes a nice change to have a sad story rather than a really happy ending. But yeah, there's a really sort of sad story behind why they've turned into a Wraith half the time, which I really like. Now, before I started fighting this Wraith, you may have noticed that this kind of wheel popped up with sort of different attributes on it, different sort of maybe powers. They are basically Geralt's powers, essentially. And to fight the Wraith, you kind of want to use this trap one, which basically, when she's flying about and you try and attack her, you can't really take off that much damage, but when she enters this circle or trap thing, she basically becomes kind of more physical, I guess, and so you can actually attack her. So you have to kind of do that. Best way I found to kill Wraiths is put down the trap. Every time you attack them, tap circle, and he'll do this little dodge backwards. Don't tap X, because X is for rolling, and it's too slow. Just just attack and then move back, and that way she won't she very rarely. I do make some mistakes, but as you saw there, her powers, her attack powers are really strong and will kill you in a couple of blows, because she'll sort of go straight through you and kind of it takes off a lot of your health. So yeah, just dodge, hit and dodge, hit and dodge. Just repeat that. I sped it up because it was quite a long fight, as you can see. You know how to do all these kind of. You know which sign to use, because Geralt has this kind of book of monsters, essentially. It's like his monster book, his monster diary, I guess you can call it. And he writes down all the stuff about what the monsters are, and what they're vulnerable to, which signs that you can use to kill them, and things like that. But yeah, and then you kill her. You get some good old loot. That's another thing that's in this game, which is awesome, loot. I find myself picking up everything. You can sell things. You can do a lot in this game. But yeah, and then you go back and you collect your reward. Sometimes when you get a Witcher contract, this one's a bit different because I actually kind of stumbled upon this by accident. But if you go up to the board and you get a Witcher contract, you can sometimes negotiate how much you get paid to fight off the beastie. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. This has been a little bit of The Witcher. I mean, it's a huge game. If you don't already have it, go out and buy it, because I thoroughly recommend it. Anyway, I'll see you guys later.